Hello, my name is Phil Dobbie, and I talk for a living. I talk on the radio. You may say nothing needs to change. Well, perhaps Jean-Claude Juncker could not look so smug. And I talk on podcasts. Well, there is a big question, isn't there, with respect to the internet about how we use it and how do we ensure that it stays free and open for everyone. After all, that was the original idea of the internet, wasn't it? But then along came Google. On the radio, I've been on Talk Radio. It's Phil Dobbie in for James Max this morning on the early breakfast on Talk Radio. I'm here all week. Well, I'm here only today now because it's the end of the week. Yay! It's almost the weekend, people. I've got a weekly show on Love Sport Radio. It'd be interesting to hear, just even if you're not an economist, does it sound right to you, the idea that you should protect industries? Give us a call on that. He's introduced massive tax cuts for companies and for individuals. Should we be doing the same thing in this country? What do you reckon? 0208 7020 558 is our number. I used to be on each week on Sydney's 2UE.
So it's been a sour few years, hasn't it, really, in Australian politics, where so much time has been spent talking about investigating allegations, all to do with misconduct, largely associated with keeping people in power or trying to get people out of power, rather than actually what we employ these people for, which is to create policy and get on with the job.
And to NSB.
And once it's in Europe, of course, it's easier to spot now because you have to if you're going to smuggle drugs, you've got to make sure you carry them on board in a clear plastic bag.
There you go.
Which is normally the way it's transported anyway, so no change there.
I do Talk Radio.
You're wondering where Sadiq Khan is right now, because if we were facing the cold weather that we've got now, Boris would be called on by the... Well, would he be called on the media, or would Boris just be saying, this is an opportunity for me to get out in front of the media and tell everyone everything's all right?
No, good morning, by the way.
Good morning. And Music Radio, which has lots of talk in it.
Spandau Ballet, Only When You Leave. We're going to talk about what's been happening in the week's news. We'll do that with Bruce in just a few moments, or a few weeks.
Few weeks. Go weeks.
How long have you got? We're only here till 12. We'll have to do it next.
And on the podcast front, I present a daily finance podcast for the National Australia Bank.
The levels from which it fell at the beginning of February, so new record highs with the Nasdaq. Obviously,
isn't that a bit of a worry? Isn't that a bit of a worry that, doesn't that sort of hint that maybe there's another correction on the way?
I think I share that view. So.
A weekly podcast on economics with Professor Steve Keen.
I've tried that myself. I've gone down to the shop with a bar of gold and tried to buy a cornetto, and they won't take it.
I haven't got change for that. Yeah, that's right.
I haven't got change for that. Yeah.
here's a piece of gold with little tiny slither shaved off the edge in change.
Yeah, which it simply doesn't happen.
And podcasts for other clients too.
Underinvesting at that front line is a massive issue for many organisations.
Yeah, I mean, they are the people putting the strategy into action very often, aren't they? I mean, it's the practical side of your operation. But the problem is, I guess, very often, because they are front line, it's difficult to take them off the front line, so it's difficult to find the time for training.
Well, that's right.
With over 2,000 podcasts behind me, I could be one of the world's most prolific podcasters. Many of them were for CBS.
He refused to venture beyond his soundbite, and he failed because of this.
Yeah, and I guess with social media, it's harder to get away with it these days as well, because, I mean, it can, as it has in that situation, be picked up. That got onto YouTube, and you can look very foolish in front of a lot of people.
Absolutely.
One podcast series I did was a favourite of the Australian Prime Minister.
Phil is a clear thought leader in this field, and I've always enjoyed our discussions.
And this is the podcast he was talking about. Well, sometime soon, Foxtel will become an ISP. Should other ISPs be worried? After all, when Sky B tried it in the UK with Sky Broadband, they became the second biggest ISP in the country.
They also made a very good acquisition in terms of purchasing an established ISP with a very good network.
And if you're looking for someone to fill the hours on your radio station, I can present full shifts, filling them with compelling interviews.
The present spectacular lack of progress in the negotiations is very unfair.
Well, I mean, the conversation is almost a bit like, well, what do you want? Well, what can we have? And you're never going to reach a conclusion so long as that's the depth of it.
Well, we haven't even begun to address to negotiate seriously yet.
Forthright opinion, that amounts to a government subsidy of about 30 pence per journey. Now, given that there are people who are not on the roads, so that cost would instantly be transferred to the costs of congestion, lost time, and maintaining the road network. 30 pence per journey in government subsidy doesn't sound too bad, does it? Talk back.
Yeah, good afternoon, gentlemen. I've got to congratulate you. You're the first people who are actually proposing a different model for local council having...
You've got fans, Phil.
Have a large...
Singular.
Administrative centre. A large administrative centre which gets all the benefits of scale, of size.
Yep.
And have a small area of councillors and which have a direct influence on the lives of the local people.
So could you tell me how you're confused, because I'm sure you are, that would be seen as, by Rowan, as socialism?
Well, it's far from it. You allow the locals to...
Exactly.
You allow locals to have control over their local area.
And just plain crazy stuff. That's Carol Malone. Who is she?
She's a broadcaster. She has
a very
opinions.
Angry broadcaster. Has an opinion about what people say on her Twitter timeline.
Yeah, you certainly stoked that fire by accident,
Absolutely.
Didn't you? So, where did you leave it? Did you ask her if...
I think that was the end of it there. I thought...
Do you think she's blocked you?
I hope so.
Can you imagine if she blocked you just for having a helpful...
Helpful. That's all I was being. Helpful. I was nurturing along. I didn't realise. I thought she must be new to this game. I thought she didn't know that you should leave an opportunity, a gap for other people. I thought maybe it was their first show. She didn't really understand. I was trying to be helpful. And this is what I
And
get.
finally, I do keep a very clean studio.
So what? So James is a bit of a slob, is he?
No, he's not. He's love. Oh, I judge all radio presenters now on how tidy a studio they leave. That's all I'm interested in.
Well, there we are. I'm one of them.
They all laugh at me for it because I'm an old fuddy-duddy here.
So I'm one of the best in that case.
Yeah, baby.
And because I'm not really famous, I'm not very expensive. I'm just a little bit expensive. And I'm available right now. So email me, phil@loudmouthcoms.com. It'll be a pleasure doing business with you.